So I'm here with Gregorio Robles. No, wrong. Try again.
Gregorio Robles.
Robles. Sorry about that.
Good.
From one of the universities in Madrid, in
Yes.
Spain.
Yeah.
Which one was it again?
Universidad Rey Juan Carlos. That's our former king.
Yeah. We have been spending quite a bit of time on AI and AI-related topics during this week at this software ecosystems workshop, seminar, whatever you want to call it. So how do you look at the role of Gen AI in software engineering? What do you see happen right now?
Okay, I see it is a big opportunity, of course. No, it's going to be a disruption. The future is going to change a lot. I mean, it's always changing, but we can. No, there are several years also in our lives where we can say, "Oh, life changed a lot."
Yes.
No, in my experience, my previous experience is the internet wave, and I think this is going to be even more dramatic. If changes are dramatic, but I think we are in those years where we have something new, a new toy, and we want to play with it.
But you view this as a bigger transformation than the internet, because I think we're both old enough to remember the late 90s and early 2000s with the internet.
Yeah.
Boom and bust, so to say. Yeah?
I think this is going to be a bigger transformation. It's also more pervasive, broader.
It touches more aspects of society.
Exactly, touches more. Yeah.
So if we look at software engineering, what do you see with the companies that you work with? What are the implications? How are they using it?
They use it for almost everything. That's the thing. I guess, for instance, we work very closely with Bitergia, which was a dashboard creating company. They do software analytics to help companies understand their involvement in open source software.
Right. Yeah.
And then they introduce generative AI to create their reports. Before they were mostly handcrafted.
Right. Yeah.
Now they try to do some of the parts with Gen AI.
Right.
And of course, their fear is that the Gen AI by itself does the job better than they do. And
replaces them altogether.
And that's their fear. But no, they're fighting against that.
Yeah.
But we should also say that having a company is not only offering the solutions, it's also having a market, and that there are people willing to pay for that.
Exactly.
And that's now in disruptive changes makes that people are frightened. Yeah. And then the clients, they think, they are not. Let's say the innovations, they put the money into AI for themselves, but not in other companies that they offer the services. So I think that's also a problem of this company. This is a small company. Yeah. This was a spin-off of our lab 12 years ago.
And they've been doing well for the last 12 years, and now they are under competitive pressure. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's the point. And then,
how do they respond? What do they do? How do they stay relevant in this age of Gen AI? How do you think a company in general should respond to this? I mean, ignoring it will for certainly kill you. So you have to experiment with it, but at some point you have to start to make real changes, right? So what should that look like in your experience?
That's a difficult question, especially for an academic, because we come from a different world. And so for sure, I mean, AI is here to stay, and it won't go away. No. And then you have to experiment. You have to probably identify where your value is, how AI affects your value, what you can do, what your competitors are doing. Yeah. I don't think there is something that can be set in general for all companies, because it depends on each.
It's the use case specific one.
Yeah, and for instance, for this company that we were talking before, a big opportunity is now that it's about compliance.
Right.
And then there is the opportunity, and then maybe they have to shift more towards that area.
Right.
And change it.
And compliance in the dashboards context, they have to follow Data Act and GDPR and other kinds of things in the dashboards. How should I think about it?
I guess it's more here about compliance to SBOM and all these things. Because at the end the clients
they are a Cyber Resilience Act.
Exactly. So that's why I say it depends on the company, because they know their clients better and know probably their needs, and they can foresee what the needs of their clients are and offer better solutions. Yeah. And then they have to play around with Gen AI, of course, and see how what Gen AI offers, the shortcomings of current Gen AI, and then probably give value on top of the Gen AI.
Exactly. So you talked about shortcomings because I'm quite interested in, do you see certain risks or are there things that you are concerned about when it comes to Gen AI?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we've seen here in the workshop a lot about that. It's very interesting because I think you particularly made a good point. We have a good solution there, and we look at the negative aspects. I think we are trained for that. We for the last 30 years, innovation has happened elsewhere. So we are very good at finding problems of those solutions.
Yeah.
To find solutions to the problems that we found.
Yes.
And then of course, now it's the same. We have this new toy Gen AI, and for us, every shortcoming of Gen AI is also
an opportunity.
An opportunity that we can see, and then we have now a long list of opportunities or challenges, and probably because we are listing it doesn't mean that this is not a good thing, Gen AI, but it's part of our bias.
Right.
That's why I would say now many in software engineering are also pessimists or more pessimists than in with other revolutions that we've seen.
Because that's affecting us instead of...
Well, that's one thing. Yeah. It's affecting us, and also especially in software engineering, I think there's some psychological factor that is very important. When I think about my research, I think I'm researching things that are going to have impact in the real world, at least for the 10 years.
Yeah.
And now sometimes I get the impression, this paper is going to be outdated even next week. Even we will publish it, and then something has already solved this problem in another way. And that's also it's different than replacement. It's just we are not keeping pace with the advancement. That's also something to take into consideration in our field.
Yeah, I have that feeling that there are a lot of papers where people basically write based on the current capabilities and limitations of AI models, but with all the billions invested in it, the line of where the capability stops is moving so quickly that any paper that writes that line is going to be outdated basically in a week, and that's, I think, a concern.
Exactly.
So if we talk about you and your work, do you use Gen AI, and how do you use it?
Yeah, I use Gen AI because being a professor, I'm an educator, so I try to teach programming. Yeah, and then we try to teach programming, let's say in the modern way with Gen AI.
Good.
So that means they can use Gen AI, but they are not only responsible for their code, they're accountable for their code. So one change that we do is they have to submit a final project, which we evaluate, but then there is a personal interview with each of them to see if they're accountable.
If they actually understood what they have been doing.
Exactly. It takes 5 to 10 minutes, and then we ask questions about their code. Yeah. And if we don't see that they are aware of what we've done, then they fail. We don't even look then at the final project. Yeah. And then in the worst case, we ask them to do a modification. Right. Without internet connection then, and without Gen AI and so on. Yeah. But that's the type of things we do. And then we also teach them to use then Gen AI, but they have to be aware of what is going on.
Use it as an assistant, but not as a replacement.
Exactly, at least by now. Yeah. But I think that's the state where we are. I don't know if the replacement will ever happen. You will never know. It will happen, but the thing is, if it's in the next 2 years, 20 years, or 100 years, that's a different...
there's the whole discussion of AGI is there as well, eh?
Exactly. So, and that we do. And then, we use, with research, we use Gen AI for many things, I guess. I mean, from paper, this discussion, I've got an idea, then I go there and
chat with an LLM basically to figure out.
Exactly. The first version of the code is given by the LLM. For non-native speakers, but I've got used to write in Spanglish and then get English and then there is a ping pong there. Because I get it and then I rewrite it and so on. But it's different than for, I guess, native English speakers when they have to write papers. They might probably write directly.
One final question.
Yeah.
Look 10 years into the future. It's 2026, 2036. What is a prediction that you think few people in this workshop will agree with, but that you believe is going to be true about the world of software-intensive systems, or about software engineering?
That's a good question. I think that still software engineers will have to work at different level of abstractions, even at the source code level. I don't think that programming languages will be something that we won't need to learn. I think there will be always some specific cases still where that is going to be valuable. And then that means probably that we have to train them for working with different skills at different abstraction levels.
Right.
No, now we've been focused too much at the coding level.
Right. Yeah.
And probably we should focus more on higher levels that models, abstraction, or whatever. But still, I think they will need to know to code, at least in 10 years' time. I don't know in 20, but in 10 years' time, I think that's still going to be a valuable thing where you say, okay, there's something going wrong. I can go to the here and see what
it was. That's
right. Yeah. I think most of the people here attending the workshop would say that's not the case. They would say that programming language will be there, but only for LLMs.
Right.
We should see maybe hand raising and so. But I think from what I hear, it's like they think programming languages is something that probably we don't need to teach in 5 years' time and so. I tend to disagree.
Excellent. My friend, thank you so much for taking the time. I appreciate it.
No, thanks for your time.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure meeting you.